The Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback.
I never stop.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to the Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback. Tonight's going to be a good one, y'all. We've talked about a couple of things in terms of transition, in terms of goal setting. You guys have been tuning in for that, and I've been pretty much solo, but I'm excited about tonight because I get to bring my ace, my numero uno when it comes to my best friend, and that is Cameron Bell.
Yeah, just whoever you wanted to invite probably didn't show up, and they probably couldn't make it.
Phil.
So that's why you told me 5 minutes ago. Nah, it's fine.
No, it works. It works. No, but y'all, this is my best friend right here. We've been ride or die since sophomore year of college. My sophomore year.
My freshman year
in college. We met in the dorms.
That's right.
And we're pretty much the same person. He has a twin brother, but if we were triplets, I'd pretty much be in there, just kind of like the bigger version.
Yeah, I got shorter hair.
Yeah, a little bit. But tonight, tonight's topic, y'all, we want to make sure that you guys have a great understanding. We've been talking about from the athlete's perspective. Obviously, that's the experience that I've had growing up, playing ball, playing multiple sports, transitioning from college to pro, and that whole transition, and then into the business world. But I want to talk about what it looks like on the other side of it, right? What does it look like as just a simple student? Not a student athlete, and what that preparation looks like going into college, what that preparation looks like going from high school to college to the professional world, and then also touching on how that affects you being a young African American male going into the business setting, and then how that differs from my experience and those that are in my shoes. So want to kick it over to Cam and let Cam just kind of give you guys a understanding of his upbringing and what that looks like.
So I'm also from Seattle. Like Isaiah, we went to rival high schools. My high school was always better than his high school at everything, just about, except for when he played football. Growing up, my mom told me at an early age my athletic career was going to be limited.
Yeah.
She kept it real, probably too real for a 10-year-old. But she was like, listen, athletics is not going to work out for you. It's not going to be something that is going to pay your bills. So you really need to focus on the things that will pay your bills. And that's going to be school. So you need to take it seriously so you can play sports, as long as it doesn't interfere with school. And she was very serious about that, which at the time is not great when you're, a young kid because you think sports is everything. But she never let it be everything. And she always, emphasized that, to play sports, you're going to have to do excellent in school. And so that was kind of our upbringing, that sports was very secondary. And I never had high, hopes of going pro in anything. I played soccer, tennis, skied, but I really enjoyed sports. It was something just I loved, but I just knew it was going to be limited. So at the end of my high school career at Franklin, I had a couple small school offers for soccer, and I wanted to kind of entertain it. And she was like, no, remember we talked about this, this is where it comes to an end.
You had that guidance from a young age,
no
right?
question.
So kind of opposite of my experience, right? My experience, I was from a young age. I knew I was like, I'm going pro, right? And it wasn't an option for me. Like I'm picking either baseball, football, something. I'm going pro in. You had on the other end, you had pretty successful parents,
no question,
who pretty much kept it 100 with you and was like, this is the route. This is not your route, right? So this is what you need to start doing. How did that change your mindset? Going into looking towards college?
It changed my mindset because all through high school, even though I loved playing sports and sports was something that was very important, I knew it had an expiration date.
Okay.
So no matter, what kind of offers I got from small colleges and, how many, Kinko accolades I got in our conference, it just didn't really matter because it just wasn't enough. So I didn't have any major offers, and at the time, soccer was not like just the most awesome sport to play, and there wasn't a ton of money to be made here in the U.S. So my mom was like, yeah, you need to focus on the things that can really make you serious money. So at the end of my high school career, I applied to University of Washington. Both my brother and I got into University of Washington, so that was super exciting. So just being able to transition pretty quickly, knowing that, hey, this is the next step, no hesitation, was great. College was an awesome experience. We always had a good time. They were running around, and my college experience was very different from yours. You would be waking up early. I'd be sleeping in, and you had early classes, so you could do weightlifting and all kinds of other stuff. And
But how did that decision come about, right? So we just touched on how your parents prepared you mentally for that next step, right? They prepared you to say, hey, your path is going to be in some kind of professional setting in the business world, right? So these are the steps, these are the things you need to be looking at. I was looking at universities that are going to put me in the best position to go pro, right? So even though I knew school was a part of it, that wasn't my focus, right? I was like, okay, school is something that it's a necessary evil for me to get to my main goal. Versus you were deciding on schools based upon your what was the follow. So how did you decide on University of Washington?
Well, one, it was a school that we could afford.
There it is.
So it's one of those things that I was like, man, where am I going to go? She was like, whoever gives you money and you can get into their school and allows you to go there. So I got into some major schools. I got into Notre Dame. USC didn't let me in. Got accepted to Wazoo, and I would never go to that school as our rival school.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, would never go there. I don't care. I'll stay home. But it was basically the money. I also got into Morehouse, which is a prestigious African-American university, historically black college, and I wanted to go there, but the dollars was the major deciding factor on where I'm going to be able to go. It was two of us, two kids going to college at the same time is just something that's, it's not feasible for many parents. So that was the deciding factor. She was like, you're going, down the street to the bottom of Montlake, the University of Washington. And so it wasn't even like I guess, I got to figure this out, make a decision. She was like, this is what we can afford. And these are your options. It's either go there or stay at home. So that was pretty straightforward, which is totally different from you.
Most definitely.
Having a plethora of schools to pick from that, wanted to entice you to come to their schools. And we've talked a few times in the past about, your opportunities to go on these trips and visit different schools and them asking you to come to these schools, where I was writing letters and, trying to apply and like begging them to get in and seeing like who I know on the, academic board and who I know in the counseling office that can help us get in.
For sure. So two totally different experiences. So for those that are out there that are athletes, right, understand the powerful position that you're in order to be able to select your school for those that are actually offering you scholarships. There's a whole other side of it that we are totally unaware of that has a set of processes. They're having to take tests. They're having to take tests, not just a regular SAT. They're having to highly outperform every majority of the field in their SAT just to stand out. They're having to submit applications, having to submit application papers. They're having to sit down with these counselors. They're having to try to use their network. So there's a whole new world over there, and in terms of his experience than we have as athletes, right? And again, I want to really emphasize that as an athlete, majority of the time, you're selecting school based upon the positioning that is going to put you in to be successful athlete. Now, we're always going to talk about student athlete, but I can tell you, my college coach at the time would say, hey, school first, football second. That's how he literally.
Wait, say it again. He would say what?
School first, football second. Right. So for those that are tuning in on audio, I held up a number 2 when he said school first, and football second. When I said football second, it was a number 1. So that was the mindset. It sounds bad, but that's the reality of it. Versus somebody like Cam. Cam's having to think. Himself and his twin brother Clay were thinking about where am I going to be 4 years from now? Right. I was thinking about I'm going to be starting my professional career 4 years now in terms of professional sports. Right. They're thinking about transitioning into the professional workspace.
9 to 5. I always knew I was going to go pro and have a nice little cubicle with the like padded walls and like a little mouse and a pad to put my wrist on. So I was really excited about that. Not at all. But I knew that's where you go after college, you get a job and, you just work until you can't work anymore. They throw you out. Yeah. Hopefully you make enough money in between. So that was always, my pro plan. I'm going to go, pro in working in 9 to 5. But you're right. The application process, it wasn't very exciting. It just wears you out. Yeah. And whether you got into a school or not, whether they send you a big envelope or a small envelope. If you get that small envelope that looks like a bill, you didn't get in.
Ain't it.
You get the big envelope, that's a winner. You got that one. So it was exciting, stressful. Yeah. You're watching all your friends go through, part of the same process for different schools and things like that. And it was exciting to get in. But as soon as you get in, you know that it's no longer a joke, that, you have to hit the ground running. And it's just a different level. And it was going to set you up for your post collegiate career. They're going to look at, transcripts, what classes did you take, what was your major, all these things. So you really got to focus on, hey, what do I want to be? And that's really hard for someone that is 17, 18 years old, figuring out, what do I want to be when I grow up? It's like, I'm never going to grow up. I'm 17, 18 years old. So looking long term and trying to make those decisions on what you think is so important, and then factoring in things like, what kind of money do I want to make, and what do I have to do to do that? So.
And I really want to focus in on that aspect, right? That mindset that you're taking on as a freshman in college.
Yeah.
So as a freshman in college, you're thinking about 4 years from now, I'm in the real world.
Yeah.
As an athlete, right? As an athlete, I'm thinking, 14 years from now, I have to figure out what I'm gonna do in my life after ball, right? Because everybody's gonna have a 10-year
Right.
professional sports career, right? So totally different mindsets,
Right?
Totally different mindsets. How did you come about choosing your major and really trying to head in the direction of selecting, what you're gonna do professionally?
So when I first was trying to figure out my major, I was always interested in architecture, something I loved from when we remodeled my mom and dad's home. So that was always something that just stuck out in my mind. I really loved to do it. I actually helped the architect design a piece of an overhang on the side of our house, which is not really a big deal. We went from 2 feet to 6 feet, but I helped design and draw it in there. So that was something that was pretty important for me, and I really enjoyed it and I liked it a lot. So I was like, architecture is something I can do. I'm really into that. So I started taking, intro to architecture and pre-architecture classes, trying to get in that major. And you've got to apply to these majors and take all the prerequisite classes and take all the math and everything like that and the drawing classes. And in doing all that, I'm trying to figure out what else I'm interested in. Am I going to get a double major? Am I going to find a minor? Different things like that. And I was really into political science. I like to write a lot, and it was something I really excelled at. When it came down to it, one of the things that really just kind of hit me right in the nose was I didn't get into the architecture program. So that right there, my junior year, changed my trajectory of what I thought I was going to be.
As a junior.
So you're halfway through.
Yeah.
You're coming around, you're hitting your last 200 yards, coming around the end of the track, and then you're like, the finish line's up there, and they're like, you didn't get in the architecture program. And at the University of Washington at that time, I don't know if it's still the case, but you had to be able to freehand draw. And I can't draw a stick figure. So
You still playing Hangman?
listen, man, there's things that I excel at, things I do not. So on the computer, I was talented. I got it. My professor was like, man, that's amazing. And then, you asked me to draw a house, just a stick figure house.
4 lines. That's
Man, it was terrible. It was terrible. So they were like, you need to find something else to do. So that was pretty devastating, it just shakes you because
invested a lot.
Now what? You've invested a lot of time, a lot of money, because those classes are expensive. You never got those bills.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, no, they're pretty expensive, especially at a D1 university. So you can burn a lot of time and a lot of money, and parents don't like when you're burning a lot of money at D1 schools, paying thousands of dollars for classes and books and dorm and room and board and stuff like that. So that was kind of a game changer, not getting into that architecture program. So from there, it's like a mad scramble on, okay, what I wanted to be is not working out. Now what do I want to be?
So just correlation wise, you're having a total life-changing moment at this point in time, right? So those out there, junior year, right? He's literally having to try to figure out, what am I going to do over these next 2 years that's going to position me to do well once I leave campus, right? My junior year, I'm thinking about, it's time to ball out.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking
You're-
about, it's time to ball out this season and next season so I can get paid. Right. I need that one big payday so I never have to worry about the things that he's worrying about right now. Right. So
Working in the cubicle.
2 totally different mindsets. I just want to continue to try to point those things out. As your junior year, you end up going through and you select another major. What was the major you
Political science.
Political science.
Yeah.
Okay, so you select that major, you push through, you graduate, and obviously I graduated. I went and got drafted. I played ball. Right, I'm off doing my thing into my career that I've always set out to have my entire life. what did that transition look like for you now as a student whose life changed at this junior year and had to figure out what he's going to do next? Now you got a political science major. What does it look like transitioning out of college into the real world?
That transition was extremely difficult because it just drops you off in no man's land. So when I graduated in 2008 with a political science degree, the economy had just tanked.
Yep.
And I don't know if the economy affected your job. I'm sorry, we don't need any more receivers, oddly enough, but it just, I don't think that was a thing. But when I graduated in 08, they were like, yeah, I would go to job interviews and they're just like, no, what are your skills? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm really good at college. I've been doing that for 4.5, 5 years. And they're like, yeah, no, that's not necessary here. I mean, they were laying people off at that time with years and years worth of experience. So
And this is in 2007?
this is 2008. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I came out a year behind you. And so to be just dumped into this workforce, and there's millions of people out there, you're competing with people internationally for jobs. And also it's one of those things, you don't have a honed skill.
Yeah. And how did your major, or did your major, prepare you for the real world? And how important is it trying to find that major early that's actually going to help you transition?
Man, and if I could go back and do it again, I would probably focus on something that drops you out of school into, some form of, whether it's a trade like heating, cooling, plumbing, pre-med where you go to med school or something like that. And so for a little while, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to law school. And then I was like, I'm tired of school because school just wore me out. So it's really kind of like just this area of unknowing.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm kind of an adult, kind of not. I've got to figure things out. That's when I moved to Texas to live with you. You were like, come to Texas. And I was like, nah, man, I got to be a grown up. And you were like, come to Texas. I was like, all right, today, right now? And you were like, let's do it. And so when I moved down here, a little bit different economy wise, they were still hiring. The economy was still at least rolling, where in Seattle it had just ground to a halt. So that was very difficult. But through a connection that I had in college and some folks that I knew, you knew, I had an opportunity. And it's one of those things that you never realize. People always tell you it's who you know, and you're like, yeah, no, whatever. I'm just going to apply on monster.com and just, chase this thing down. And I went to a ton of interviews, and a ton of people were like, no, yeah, you're really awesome. We'll give you a call. And it's like, okay, cool. You want me to just wait in the lobby for you to call me? Or, and they just don't call you. And you don't know why. Kind of leaves you in this
limbo.
Limbo place. And I'm sure, it happens to you on the professional level where you get cut, or, a team doesn't want you anymore, and you go, what did I do? Was there something I did or didn't do? Or, who are you looking for if it's not me? And what are you looking for? So there was a lot of that. But when I did have an opportunity, a headhunter actually that had hired a few positions at the company I'm at now was like, hey, Cam, I think I can get you on over there. You want to take a swing at it? And I was like, yeah, no, I need whatever you got, so.
Now, don't miss this. Now what was your first reaction?
I needs that.
So
I need that.
Understand now, was it in the area that you necessarily wanted?
Not at all.
Not at all, but it was an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right. So understand the points that he just touched on. He utilized his network.
Yep.
Right, which was just from developing friendships and investing in people without expecting anything in return. Right. So that actually ended up giving you a return.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. And when an opportunity presented itself, regardless of what he felt it was going to set him up for, he hopped on it, he grasped onto it, and he went 100% into it. People, I can't stress this enough, whether you're an athlete, and I got drafted as a receiver. I played quarterback in college. I got a phone call that morning. Jerry Jones on the line. Hey, Isaiah, you're gonna play receiver for me.
Was that Jerry's?
That was Jerry.
That's Jerry's.
I was able to come down here. You're gonna play receiver. All right. What was my first thought? I'm a quarterback. What was my second thought? It's an opportunity. Right? You're not in a position to not be accepting opportunities. You take the opportunities that God presents in front of you, you grasp onto it, and you go 100% into it. And guess what? If it doesn't work out, you have great experience going 100% in an area. You just learned, you developed. Now let's figure out your path. Right? So you saw opportunity, you grasped onto the opportunity, and what happened from there?
Man, it just really blossomed. And I would say one of the difficult things was transitioning into a 9-to-5. Going from college to a 9-to-5, it just really kind of just blows your mind because it happens so fast. You go from hanging out with your friends on a regular basis, seeing people you know, to, you know, waking up, going to work, you know, having lunch with people that, you know, maybe aren't, you know, the best friends in the world, and, you know, you're pretending like you like each other. And that was extremely difficult. And I met some guys at work that were pretty awesome and helped that transition, but it was still, I mean, it just blew me away that, you know, one day you're just hanging out with your friends, having a good time in college, and then, you know, a month later, you're sitting in front of a computer looking at an Outlook screen and a bunch of emails, you know, and someone clocking you in and clocking you out like, hey, you were 7 minutes late, you know, from lunch. And it's like, what just happened to my life?
Cam, just drive home the point in terms of how important it is to not isolate yourself as a young man, and then as a young African American man, as we feel like we got everything under control. We feel like we can control our own destiny. We don't need nobody. We got this thing figured out. How important is it in the midst of this transitional period where you really have no identity, right? You have no professional identity.
Yeah.
How important is it to not isolate yourself and then simply humble yourself, put yourself in an environment around other individuals in your field who have more experience than you, who can guide you, who simply could just be your friends? How important is it to surround yourself around these individuals during this time?
I mean, it is just about the most important thing. Just like when you joined the Cowboys, they had just quite a few guys that had talent. Some, I mean, Hall of Famers, you know. So to come into a situation and then to think that you're just going to do it all on your own is absolutely ridiculous. Just like you didn't know what you were doing when you stepped on the field to be a receiver. Sure did. Literally, you were just like, what do I do now?
I had all the pads.
Exactly. Like, are you wearing a cup and knee pads? Like,
Exactly.
yeah, do I need all this stuff? Yeah, no.
Never had pot and pan. On
Right,
that.
come on, man. You don't know what's going on. And there's going to be people that say, hey, do this, do that. But then also you have to reach out in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And reaching out is one of those things that's going to be hard for a lot of people. And it's hard for me because I feel like I know everything. There's somebody somewhere watching this that's like, amen, that show is right. But I feel like I know so much. So reaching out and asking for help is difficult. But it's going to be one of those things that's so important that you reach out, ask people, hey, why do you do this? Or how did you learn this? How can I learn that? Where do I need to go? And then also to be successful, you're going to have to take extra time. And that was something I had to do to get better at what I was doing. So get better at sales, to get better at the marketing side of my job that I was doing. I had to read more. I had to, you know, just dig in on my lunch break, before work, after work, and really do more research. And I couldn't just clock in and clock out and say, well, I did my part, you know, because I wanted to achieve, I wanted to have more success than average. So you got to chase these things down, but you also have to be, you know, knowledgeable of who's got the power, who can give you knowledge. And those things really, really affect you quite a bit. So you do have to take some ownership in your own success, but also, you know, take a step back and really humble yourself to ask for that help. And, you know, we would always bounce things off each other, and we'd talk about our struggles, and they were very different, but they were very similar in me coming into a new position and trying to figure this out, and you coming into a brand new position and trying to figure it out. I didn't get to work with any Hall of Famers, oddly enough, at my job. But I guess it was okay, you know. But you had to wear a helmet to work. So that's kind of, I don't know, you know, trade-off.
No, but I mean, so Cam just touched on a lot of great things in terms of, you guys heard it from both sides, right? The humbling factor, especially us athletes and men, you have to humble yourself. You just have to do it, right? If you don't humble yourself, you're not even going to put yourself in a position to get help, to have a network, for your network to actually pick up the phone and want to speak on your behalf. So number one, humble yourself, okay? And with humbling yourself, it requires you to identify where you're weak at, right? And where your flaws are at. You're not that great at this. Actually, you're probably behind. Talking about behind, you know, Cam now is killing it. You know, he totally, you know, totally went all in on that opportunity, and now he's 10, 11 years into it,
right,
making great money, doing great things, kind of the head man in that department at his business. So he's that guy now, right? But he started off as the bottom guy, so he worked his way up, and from the athlete perspective, Cam had a head start on me.
No question.
Right? So by the time Cam...
It was the only time I beat you in a race.
Yeah, you definitely beat me that day.
It was the only time I beat you in a race.
So Cam transitioned in 2000 and what, 8.
Yep.
Okay. I retired in 2013. So when I was trying to transition into starting my own business and personal training, Steadfast Fitness Performance, Cam had a 5-year head start.
Right.
I had a 6-year professional career. I retired and I'm now starting my real career. So he had a 5-year head start. And really, if you really want to add on to it, he had a 9-year head start because he was thinking about that life before I was even thinking about it, right? I was thinking about playing pro ball. I didn't know how long that career was going to be. So from the athlete perspective, it is so important to try to start figuring out early as you can what it is you want to do post ball. I had 6 surgeries. I still played 6 years. 6 years is actually an okay career, right? Most people are doing it 2 to 3 years, okay? I had a 6-year career. We always hope for more, but plan as if you're only going to have one, all right? And I want you guys to really understand that and start driving that home. Start thinking about it now. Start doing internships. Start doing the things that you feel like you don't need now because it's not our timing, it's God's timing. So position yourself to be successful in that regard and just grind. Grind. If you guys want something, if you want it, if you really want it, take ownership, like Cam said, take ownership of it, take the responsibility, take everything that it requires for you to go and attain those things and go get it. And don't be a victim. That's something that I know we're both very adamant about, not playing the victim role, because guess what? We can control us. As long as we're aligning ourselves with God's will, we are able to knock out opportunities. Right? So position yourself to have opportunities, right? And then knock them out. At least seek them out. At least seek them out so that we're not sitting here saying nobody's reaching out to me. Nobody's speaking on my behalf. Yeah, they're trying to hold me down. Let's not be victims, right? And I know a lot of times, I know in our community, the African-American community, there's a lot of people play the victim role, right? I'm not saying that's solely just the African-American community, but let's keep it real. A lot of people in our position play that role in that position when in reality, they're not stepping out of their comfort zone. In reality, they're not putting in the work they need to put in a specific field. They're not being fully focused as Coach Willingham would say, find focus in one particular area. So just really want to encourage you guys. This is a professional athlete that transitioned into the business world 9 years behind this dude, right? And he had a totally different experience going through college and transitioned to a professional world, and he's successful. I'm starting to try to figure out my way how to be successful in terms of entrepreneurship, but we try to keep it really real with y'all, right? We try to keep it really real with you. I'm really happy and really appreciate my dog Cam coming on the show, shake it, bake it on the show. He's awesome. We're pretty much the same person, like I said. Clay, you're really triplets, bro. Just if you're out there watching,
It's my brother.
for another no,
It's out there in TV land.
Wakanda forever. All right. Again, y'all, thanks for checking out the Really Real Show with Isaiah Stanback. Make sure you guys tune it in, share it. We'll see you next time. Go. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure that you guys send in your questions, topics that you guys want me to cover, and we'll make sure that we address those things and that we can answer all those questions and maybe even, bring up your topic that you guys send in going forward. Talk to y'all soon.